There we go. Going a little old school. That's all I got, guys. That's all I got for sweet dance moves. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Well, that's not good. All right, let's get to it here. Give me 1 second here, guys. Yep, perfect. Let's get to the numbers. Let's get to it here. That's exhausting. All right, there we go. Uh, 184. Wow, that's a big number. That's a big, big number. I don't understand this thing today. I don't have time for it. There it goes. Okay. That's a big, big number. All right. That's a big number. Well, I try to make this simpler. I don't think I'm making it simpler. Okay. All right. Okay. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. All right. Hold on. Hold on. Not a boomer. I swear. I swear to God. Hold on. All right. See it in front of you? Perfect. Let's get to it. So what you're going to see right here, ADP 184. I don't know why this is so off today. 184, 155, 148 was consensus. So you're coming in hot, really hot. Now, if we click on it, just to put it in perspective, this is what's going on. Right? So you are upticking. Now, Christmas is usually Christmas, but if you come in through there, right, you can see that this is where it was super hot. And if you go take a look at a 5-year, you're kind of looking at it that way. And if you take a look at the 5-year and you look at it this way, you'll see that it's really not that crazy, right? But now, yeah, that's a pretty hot number. Now, that doesn't mean that non-farm payrolls is going to be that high, but that's a pretty hot number. So we're going to want to watch that. I'm actually surprised you're not selling down more, to be honest with you. So I'm really surprised by that. You know, I'm surprised you're not selling down more. So we'll have to see how this goes. I don't know. Maybe they expected it. Maybe it's baked in, but I don't know how. I don't know how that would be baked in already. You haven't broken it. You still haven't broken that range. It's actually like they're making it like it's a non-event for whatever reason. But let's see if they shake it off. So far, you've just undercut and looked for stock. And RTY was doing the worst, which is not. You always mark that first 1 minute bar. You just want to see where the algos are. That's all you're doing. I mean, you just watch them during the day. And you want leave that on during the day. If you're new here, just leave that on during the day and you'll see how that's going. I mean, okay. So that's not ideal. Let me see something here. I mean, it's a breakout. Like there's very little to say here, guys. Like that's a breakout. You know, I mean, that's the biggest hiring increase they're saying in 8 months. Doing something different today. Did a double shot of espresso. Put a little protein powder in there. It's actually pretty good. I think it's a hot. I mean, I think it's a hot number. They seem to be blowing it off. I'm not really sure why. I'm not sure what they got out of that number and why it's not. We're not seeing this massive reaction to it. But we're not really seeing a huge reaction yet. Now, maybe we'll see it later in the day. But as of now, we're not really seeing anything like that. Well, we're going to have to see how that plays out. I'm kind of surprised that you're not seeing a more stronger reaction to that number. We talk about a couple things. Let's go through. Nvidia is obviously down because of what happened in Taiwan. You know, with the, I believe it's a tsunami. I mean, it's an issue for sure. Like they evacuated people, 26 buildings collapsed, 4 people died. It's sad. I don't know if it's going to affect anything like business wise, but you know, maybe it does. Maybe it displaces things. I'm not really sure. They seem to look at it like they're going to sell Taiwan Semi on the news today. So I don't know. I think it might actually be a buy if they do. Might take a couple of days, but you might want to watch that 135 level and see how it acts there. Go from there. I do like that level. I do think that's something to pay attention to. And then we'll, you know, I'll say, give me a second. Okay. So I think there might be something there. The Intel was a disaster last night. We should probably start there. And I did short it last night. I don't know. I don't know if you want to short more here or not. I don't know what the hurry is now, but once you break that 7 o'clock level, you're pretty much toast. So like whenever you mark that regional, and you know, you got to watch, are they actually shorting it or are they just playing with you? But when you mark 7 o'clock, you can kind of see where retail's at, right? So I think retail's going to dump it. I really do. I don't know why they would, pardon me, stay in it. What time is it? You got 3 more minutes before that bar forms. How much selling's really going on there? Let's take a look. Let's see how much selling's actually going on there. Get a good look at it. Not really sure why the SMCI is getting killed. Yeah, you got some real dumping going on there. You got one guy out there trying to sell a lot. For those that are in the community, we are definitely going to do a level 2 class. You got one dude out there. You got no sellers. You got no buyers. There's nobody out there trying to buy. Let's see something. Yeah, there's nobody. There's one guy out there. Hold on one second here. Yep. Yep, nobody. Yeah, that's going to get ugly. Give me a second, guys. So, I mean, they came out and talked about the foundry and how great things were. And then they're like, oh, by the way, the CFO, we got a new CFO. And this isn't going to be profitable for 7 years or several years. But I think they actually said 7 and something. So that's pretty, it's pretty bad. So, but I think you're going to see an inordinate amount of selling in that. Nobody, people can't wait a quarter. Why do I feel like I'm in a hole? How do I look on this thing? Am I okay here? No, I'm in a hole. Look. How about this? Is that better? There's that. That's something that you can't see the top of my head. There we go. Oh, good. I got the wrong chart on. That's good. Remember it's like the good old days. That's good. And nobody said anything. Nobody. Exhausting. I'm sitting here staring at charts, pointing at charts. You guys say nothing. Unbelievable. I'm sure somebody said something, right? Wow. Remember when I used to do that all the time? It's like the good old days. Remember when? So on Intel, you're going to want to watch that level right there. That's what I was talking about. I don't see any buyers at all. And what I'm doing when I say that, here, I'll show you. So like literally here, let me show you this. So I'm just going to show you a clip of it. We'll do this in the class, but I'll just show you what I'm talking about when I say like no buyers. Like here, look. So that's level 2, right? You can see where everybody's at. See how there's literally nobody here? Like there's no big orders. Like the first order that I actually see out there is like you got a couple people at 65 now, like trying to stop it. But there's nothing even till 62. And there's literally over here, there's guys that were literally trying to sell like thousands and they just went away. Now they might come back. They're up a little higher. They're at like 70 now, right? But yeah, like 70, 75, but like there's nobody there. So, I mean, level 2 is helpful. It depends on how like tight you're trying to get with your trades. But if you see like a huge order there on the book and you run through it like butter, then you know. Like you'll know, like even if you see like a huge seller and they run right through the seller, you'll be like, oh, okay. At least you can get up and in, you think, right? We did this trade. I'll walk you through this because this is kind of neat. But like when Lulu was falling down this day, right? Pre-market or post-market on this, like if I go here, I'll show you this. So like this day when it was falling, and everyone doesn't want to short, and they're all like, oh, I missed it. I was in the room and we were talking about it. And I'm like, there's no bids. Like there's literally no bids. Like nobody was bidding for the stock. And when you see that, you know that there's just nobody out there that wants to own it. So even though you think you missed it here at 38, in 3 hours, well, really 4 hours, 3.5, you're up $12 on a short because nobody wants to own it. And then if you held it to like 7 o'clock in the morning, where were you, right? Sometimes I'll do that with these trades. I'll just hold them overnight. And where'd that get you? Here. I saw the same thing the other night, and you can see this when you learn how to read level 2. It's kind of important for traders anyway. But like once you saw the same thing here with PVH, I did this one the other night too at like 15, where there was nobody there. Like literally nobody was bidding for the stock. And once you can read that by the movement, but once you see it out there, you're like, oh, like right now I've got some bids out there on Intel. Like I'm starting to see people bid on it, right? How long they stay there, we'll see. So that's why it's stopping now. You start to see people actually pick at it and bid on it a little bit. But when you're looking at things like that, you're like, oh, well, how much money could you make? Well, if no one's going to buy it and you're short, what's the hurry to close it? And then by the end of the night, I was closing this thing at like 108. I mean, it's $7. I mean, you're not doing a darn thing about it. So here, I'll show you. This is actually fun. Hold on. Let me see if I can find him. There he is. So here's Intel. We'll go back to Intel because this is pertinent, right? So you see what Intel's doing here? So you might look at the chart and go, oh, the move's over. But if you look at the level 2, you'll see that you got a guy out there where they're trying to sell like 2,000 shares, right? And as soon as that came up, they backed off. And then here, now they're here, right? Now they're here at 70. Okay, so now you know that they are moving this down, right? They're moving this down to here. And now if they get filled at 70, you know that someone's buying stock, right? So like that went away. Now as soon as that went away, they took it to 72, and now they're back to 70 again, and they hit it again. So you know somebody's really still selling at 70, right? And there it goes, boom, now it just broke right back down. So you know that you actually have somebody there at 70 that's just hitting the bid or hitting the ask over and over again, just selling. So that does kind of keep you in trades. Kind of went off on a tangent there, but it's important. You might want to watch that again or don't, but hopefully that made up for you staring at 80p non-farm payrolls for a little bit there. So we have it marked off on the 1 minute. As I said, you might want to just keep doing that. The other thing I like to do with these is just you expand them out to that 5-minute bar and just look at the 5-minute bar and you realize that you're right in line. Go look at NQ. Is it right in line? Yeah, 5 minutes a little different. So maybe you mark off the 5, right? You take a look at the 5 and you'll take a look at RTY and you'll note that the 5's a little different as well. So maybe mark that level as well, but shouldn't be surprised by that. And TZA, I'm surprised isn't getting smoked. That's a big number, man. I'm not really sure. Yeah, there it goes. So TZA will probably rock and roll today. So it's so hard to trade that too, isn't it? Like, I don't know if you guys have been trying to trade this, but yeah, I mean, for that kind of move, you get 20 cents. Like even this the other day, I was looking at it. You go home at 17.28. You come in, you're at 17.93. If you time this perfectly, you make 45, 50 cents. If it's perfectly timed, it's almost impossible to look at. But you are seeing some cracks, and we should probably talk about where the cracks are and where the cracks are not. I think you'll find value in that. So if we take a look at Apple, for example, 170 is a real issue. Now, corporate buybacks aren't a thing right now. So you have an issue there. And that's definitely something that we're going to want to watch and pay attention to. I should put this up here so I can see my screen at all times and go from there. And then let's go from there. But that's in some trouble, man. Nobody wants that headset. Everybody wants a girlfriend. Nobody wants that thing. So Microsoft is kind of hanging in there. What did we note yesterday that I think was pertinent? Somebody wants NCRM. Somebody wants some CRM, that's for sure. What else do you have going on today that's interesting? Disney, you're going to have a real battle, like a battle in the boardroom there between Peltz and Iger, and the shareholders are going to vote. It's kind of exciting, actually. So something to look at, something to pay attention to. As far as Taiwan Semi and the earthquake, I don't know what's going to get hit over that. I mean, this SMCI coming in, I'm not really sure the reasoning for that. I mean, I guess people could argue that it shouldn't be where it is anyway, but it seems like a pretty excessive this morning. So definitely something I would look at. What else is of note? I think this is of note, and I think we should go over this, and then I'll start taking questions. I thought I had something else I really wanted to address. I think this is of note. So I do one of my fancy trend lines, and I want to just show you my fancy trend line right here. Do let me know in the comments about last night's video. I did want to show the trade we did on Nvidia. Hopefully you find that helpful. That's the kind of market you're in right now, man. It's not you. Everybody's off. You know, my win rate's down. My win rate's 10% off. My year-to-date win rate, I'm off 10% right now. It's that kind of market. You got to take what you can get if you're still going to trade tech. I can't be any clearer. I hope people are getting that. If you want to play the other names, you keep the same systems. If you want to play the tech names, you have to change. You can't keep running the same running play. It's not going to work. They're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. You see how you're wedged in there? So you're setting up here. And, you know, one of the things I was trying to get people to understand is, you know, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Everybody wanted, you know, BlackRock and all these guys to control Bitcoin so that they could make money. Well, congratulations, they control Bitcoin. They control the inflows. They control the outflows. They control it now. So you're going to see a lot more nonsense of gap ups, gaps downs, things like that. Them telling you the outflows are out. You're not going to have any clue. I mean, they can do the inflows and outflows themselves. So, you know, it's kind of a pickle right now, to say the least. But if you look at how you're wedged in here, I mean, it's not ideal, but there's a couple of things here that you can just overlay. You're having a real tough time with this 22. And you can't stay over it. And the 22 and the 12, they keep crossing. That's a pickle. It's a real pickle. And that's not something that you want to be in. Do kids still say it's a pickle? Do they still say that today? Am I cool? That's hip, isn't it? It's a pickle. So I think that's something you have to consider. And it's a concern. Like I was looking at this ETH and getting involved there because I was riding the 55. Well, I'm not riding the 55 anymore. Like it made a decision. Now, you know, hindsight's so pretty, isn't it? When you technically look at a chart, it makes your life so easy after the fact. You say, oh, I just wasn't going to buy it because it didn't break the 12. I use a 12, a 22, and a 55. You should use what you're comfortable with. So I think that when you look at these kinds of things, you have to kind of go out there and go, okay, do I want to be involved here? Do I not want to be involved? Yesterday, I bought some calls on MicroStrategies because I held the 22. I don't know if it's the right move or not. It will be off the open. I don't know how long I'm going to be in that game, though. You know, the thing is they were using it as an inflation hedge, and then they seemed to stop. And I'm not sure why, right? So I'm sure you guys caught that already, right? So like, if you look at Bitcoin, let's just walk through it. So like, if you look at Bitcoin, and then I'll answer questions. What time is it? I have plenty of time. See what happens when we start on time? We get to spend more time together. Isn't that nice? So if we look at Bitcoin here, right? And then at the same time we take Bitcoin, we're going to take the 10-year yield, right? And I don't care. We'll use gold as well. We could use anything. We could use copper too. You want to use copper? Why not? Just do it for giggles. Now, if you go here and you throw them into a 5, what's the one that's going to take me out of whack? The TNX is going to take me out of whack. What you're going to see, they're all going to take you out of whack. What you're going to see here, let's do it over an hourly, is that they were all kind of aligned, right? Here, let me pull it back. They were all kind of aligned. They were all doing the same thing, right? They were all like rising. And then Bitcoin, for whatever reason, just fell out of favor, like back here. And you started seeing the lower highs, even though that these are all still hitting higher highs, right? Gold, and then you have copper, and then the yield's still going up, right? So I'm not really sure why the disconnect, but you're definitely getting it. You can say, oh, well, it's up higher than the most. Well, that doesn't work that way. I mean, that doesn't do me any good, right? It doesn't matter. I'm not looking at relative performance. I'm looking at, do I want to use this currently as an inflation hedge? And if all these kids are still going up and hitting higher highs, and this one's not, you know, why? So these are the things that keep me up at night. So that's kind of, you know, something to think about, but I'm not going to get into that. I'll throw everybody off. So it's an issue. And I think it's definitely something that you have to consider. If I don't know what to do when I'm looking at a chart, sometimes I'll just go to a line and just look at it. And it makes life so much clearer sometimes, doesn't it? Anyway, so I think that that's definitely something to look at. I don't see why the energy names have any chance of coming down anytime soon. You know, it's not like we're swimming in world peace right now. You know, so, I mean, you got 2 wars, escalations, you know, a lot going on there, man, a lot. So you got a lot of issues. And I don't see that going away. You know, something tells me we're not going to have world peace right now. So it's definitely an issue, and you're starting to see that. You're also starting to see the breakdown of certain XLY like leaders. Now, Amazon's not really breaking down. It's starting to become more of its own kid tech thing, but it's also a large portion of the XLY. But if you look at XLB and you're getting a little tired here, you start looking at Lynn. Lynn's starting to get a little tired, but then you look at the copper names. Copper's not getting tired. So it seems to me that it's just the most purest plays of metals, right? Or of goods that you can get your hands on seems to be where they're going, right? It does feel that way, doesn't it? Like whatever the purest play is. So if it's oil or uranium or gold or copper, silver, we got guys in the room that are whacking silver around. I hate trading silver, like hate it. But you got guys that are trading this stuff. So to me, I get it. I would stick with anything that's like asset-based like that has an actual hard asset. That seems to be where we're going. That seems to make a lot more sense doing trading that way, you know, in the, in the names like this, where you start looking at like VLO, like this is all-time highs. This is something we've been buying in the community. MPC, like these names are just on fire. MRO, you just throw a dart, man. I'm not that smart. It's just like, I'm really not. But like you look at these names, I mean, they're on fire. Exxon, you know, like these things are all setting up for just monster moves. And people are like, oh, I missed it. Depends how bad it gets. Like how bad is it going to get over there? Right? I mean, it's not getting better. It's getting worse. And the worse it gets, the more tensions are going to increase. Like the other nations around there are only going to watch this so much. Right. And I think they're getting to that point. And that's going to become a real problem. It's definitely a problem for, you know, the US. So I think that you're starting to see that. I really do. And it's even, I don't know why CVX always gets the runt, but like, look at PSX. Like these names, they're just on fire. Oxy, we bought Oxy at 56. So like Oxy's one, Buffett has the ability to buy whatever he wants, right? So he just picks at it at 56 level. So whenever it gets down there, you just pick it off and then you just wait for it to get into this band. And then I just sell somewhere in that band. But there's really no reason to right now. I might get fortunate enough to get 20 points out of it because, you know, I mean, just what's going on over there. So I would still look at these names. I mean, who suffers from this a little bit? You know, Casey suffers a little bit. Murphy suffers, they suffer a little bit because they do independent buying of gas, right? Like Exxon gas stations have to buy Exxon gas, but like Murphy's, they benefit the most with the crack spread. Whenever that spread is there, they make the most amount of money. And when the oil just starts moving that far, that fast, they're not able to do that. So that's something else that I'd be paying attention to. I think this deal is probably just going to keep grinding now, quite frankly, that people get it. CHX, they'll probably buy CHX over buying SLB because CHX, I'm sure, is trading at a discount. I haven't done the math on it. I got to do the math, but what you'll find is that the deals, they're probably trading at a discount now. So instead of buying SLB, I own SLB, but I'd be smarter to buy CHX and sit with that now. So if it flips that hammer, it's probably something I'll look at. Maybe what I'll do is just put a little alert there while we're talking, so I remember. Please like the video. It helps greatly with the algorithm. I purposely do not run ads because I find them annoying when I'm trying to watch something. You should use what you're comfortable. What's up, Boomer? My kid does not think I'm cool at all. He totally does not think I'm cool. He thinks I'm cool when I pay for his crap in college. Other than that, he's like, hey, Dad, what? What's it going to cost me now? What's up, Bob? How would I treat long-term investments? I treat long-term investments as long-term investments. They're long-term investments. I don't look at daily moves on long-term investments. So like, here's Nvidia, right? And I believe that's even the one you asked about. So this is probably the most recent real long-term investment I made, I think. I think what else I did. Oh, I bought something else. I bought Donut for a real long-term investment to leave it alone. And that's just not going well at all right now. But I was up in it, but I'm just going to sit with it. I actually think McDonald's buys them in like a year or two, but whatever. So how do I treat long-term investments? So, all right. So I'm going to answer this question with a question. Since you got here at like 6:30 in the morning, and I hope you're watching this. There's a really good book on this. Hold on. So get this book. Like, can you see that? It's called The Alchemy of Finance. Hopefully you can see that. Hold on. Where's the camera, Boomer? There it is. All right. Get this book. It's by Soros. I don't want to hear about your politics, right? I really don't. But in regards to it, the reason I'm saying that is when I read that book and looked at how he treated long-term investments and how he was able to stay in things for years, it was a game changer for me. And I read that book probably once a year. And, you know, if you listen to like Paul Tudor Jones or Victor Niederhofer, who you guys probably don't even know, but if you listen to any of those dudes, like they will just tell you straight up, like anytime Soros writes a book, read it and then read it again and then read all of his books. Like it's really game-changing stuff. It was for me because what it did was it got rid of all the noise. Like this is all noise. This is all nonsense, right? So the day that this happened on earnings, this was a game changer for the entire AI market. And what you'll find is you trade longer term. Sometimes you're super early on stuff, right? Like when Soros shorted like the Guild, what he was famous for, that trade was on for 4 years. And he was able to stay in it. And then they're like, oh, he made $1 billion in a day. No, he was in the trade for 4 years. So, but he was right. So when I get a fundamental shift in a chart, right, like a real fundamental shift, I will go out there and I will take advantage of that fundamental shift and I will buy on that fundamental shift. This is why I recommended the book. What time is it? I'm going to make sure I don't waste too much time on this, but it's a really great question. And you came in 2 hours early. So, what I will do until the fundamental situation changes on that long-term investment, I will not move it. I just leave it alone and let it do its thing. So I have stock when this happened a year ago that I bought in the room, and I told everybody, I'm buying this. Don't ask me if I'm still in it. I'll sell it when they miss earnings, is how I said it. And they're like, well, they might not miss earnings for years. My response was, right. So I never did anything with it, with that one position, but I compartmentalized my trades. That's what you need to think about. So like we did this one in the room where we bought pins and we paid 18 for pins. And the reason we bought it was because the firm that stepped in down here was Elliott Management, and Elliott Management turns companies around. It takes them a while, but they turn companies around. So we actually got a double out of this one, right? Now, some people stayed in it, some people didn't. That's fine. You really want to stay in your long-term investments until something changes. So like I had a very long-term position in Tesla. It doesn't matter how long I was in it for. It's irrelevant. What's relevant was that it was a long time. And I got out here. And when I got out, everybody was like, and you could see it by the numbers, right? See when earnings were like way off, right, on deliveries, but all these still were like, they weren't that bad, right? The revenues were, but the earnings were still there. They were still able. What were they able to do? They were able to cut costs to mask what was really the problem, right? Nobody wants the cars. And then when I saw this, I'm like, they can no longer mask the problem. The deliveries are undercutting, you know, there's real issues at the company. So once I saw that fundamental shift, I sold here. Or no, I sold, I'm sorry, this day. Wherever that open was, I sold. I'm out. And then it's like, are you sure you want to sell? And then it did this. Yeah, because the fundamental reason why I owned it changed. Would I be happier selling here? Yeah. But that's not why I bought it. And if I sold here or if I sold there, right, because it did this, then I'm not getting this. I'm not getting this. Do you follow me? So you have to think about really why you're in the trade, right? And until that changes, read that book. Until that changes, Bill, you don't want to be out of the trade. New quarter's rate of possible app. Uber's too tied now. I think Uber's too tied now. To the market. I think because it locked to the S&P, it's too thin. I mean, it's holding. I don't know what's the hurry there. Yeah, I've got zero volume. I have no interest in that. Not until I get volume. Oh, I know what I had to do. Darn it, I forgot to do that. Where is that? Let that load in and go to this. And give me a second, guys. I forgot to do something. Copy link. That's what happens when you get old. You start talking to yourself when you do things. I don't have volume. I'm not interested. I don't have any volume, dude. You literally have zero volume. I think I missed my coffee versus this thing. I don't have any volume, man. It affects all the banks. It certainly doesn't help the bank, does it? Right? It's not good for the bank. Like it's not like I'm not doing cartwheels with it. I own all these Argentinian banks. I've done nothing. And all these additions, candidly, I'm actually down on the additions. And it's frustrating, but it's the game. And, you know, I'm looking out. I'm trying to stay in these long term. Right? I am trying to stay in these long term. I'm not crazy about how they're acting now, like at all. Not in the least. Oh, I got this short on. I forgot all about it. How am I doing here? Oh, good. I'm up. I'm not crazy about at all how they're doing, but you have other driving underlying forces here. So as Argentinian debt goes up in value, they should be just fine. These banks, all of them should be just fine. So that's something that I can kind of rest my hat on, but pardon me. But we're seeing that everywhere, brother. I mean, like, it doesn't matter. Argentinian bank. I mean, Goldman's down $12 off the high. JP Morgan came in, right? I mean, JP Morgan out of all of them is holding up the best. But look at KRE. Like, I mean, what a disaster of a setup that was, man. I was so close to buying this. So close to buying that. It was perfect. Like, this was a perfect setup, right? Right over the 55, right? Gives me the higher high, and then boom, we just start getting that data. And that data started Monday. You're going to want to watch that PMI data today, guys. You know, that data comes out. I'm not going to switch screens again because that'll be an absolute disaster again. But like, hold on. That data is at 10 o'clock, 52.7. You got to watch that ISM service number at 10 o'clock, guys. That comes in hot. You know, this could be nothing. This could be a blip what you're down right now. VR, how to use VR VP again. Volume weighted. Are you telling me VWAP? Is that VWAP you're trying to use? Like VWAP's just all you do for, like, if that's what you're asking here, let's go to a bear chart. I should put out these little tutorials on this stuff. I was thinking about that. So all you do is just click on it. I mean, that's all you do. You literally just click on it and just put it there. It's right here. It's under projection. You just have to go down and find them volume based. I mean, that's all you just have to click on them and just drop them. It tells you the volume weighted average price. I don't know what VRVP is. I'm thinking you're saying VWAP. What's up, Spence? SQ square. Yeah, I don't like these kinds of charts, man. I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm not a fan. When you can't get over that higher high after earnings. It's definitely something. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this with the ice and everything. It's like splashing a little bit. It's not making me feel warm and fuzzy. I mean, I wouldn't go near that. I mean, you didn't completely implode. You came right to this area. Like, you're still in control here, right? Like, you see that, right? I'm sure you already see that, but like, I mean, tries, fails, rallies, becomes support. Still support. You don't want that to fail. If that fails, I mean, you can gap fill. You could even argue that that might be a more appropriate line, really, to focus on. What's the high of that bar? 80.29. I'm not a fan of that. If you're long, I'd have some real questions. Spot looks amazing. This is usually when I try to get involved with it and then just don't do well with it. Spot really, to me, is one of those companies you just have to own and forget that you own. It really is. Like, I have a very tough time trading it because just the way it trades. I don't know if that's because of where it's based or what my issue is with it, but I have a tough time trading this. I really like the company. No one has more paid subscribers anywhere. There's no company that has more paid subscribers anywhere in the world than Spotify. I mean, they have the single largest recurring revenue stream in the world. It's not Apple. It's Spotify. Nobody pays like they do. No one. It's not Amazon Prime. It's Spotify. And it's kind of, which is fascinating, but that's what it is. It's really hard to beat that model. Like, it's just such a good model. I have a hard time trading it. I think it's one of those things that you just kind of have to own. And as long as things are going well, you know, I mean, you can see with like the issues, right? Like, all in here, they were writing like billion-dollar checks. Like, oh, give Obama a podcast, give his wife a podcast. He'll give Harry a podcast, give his wife a podcast. They were like writing checks like they were crackers. Like, it was crazy. And, you know, and like, it doesn't work that way. You know, podcasts are really interesting because the only way that podcasts get really, really good is by putting in the reps. Like, you can't just be like some dude and you're like, oh, I'm going to start a podcast because I've got like a famous name. Like, it doesn't work that way. Even guys that like have like big followings, when they start a podcast, they still have to put the reps in and get good at it. So I think they realized that. And then they started going after like talent that already had the podcast and had that ability. And like, they started cutting checks for like Tim Dillon, those guys who Tim Dillon to me is just is absolutely hysterical. But, you know, they started cutting things like that. And so you can see like where they're going with it, right? They're going towards complete entertainment. I mean, I think it's going to be a juggernaut. I really do. I think they're going to be way bigger than people think they are. So I think they are the biggest threat to, I actually think they are the biggest threat to YouTube personally. I think they are. I think if they found a real way to like upload video and do what YouTube does, people would flock to them, you know, and I don't know that they want to do that. Maybe they're happy where they're at. I know they do video for like certain people, and maybe it's the bandwidth and the idea of all that, and they don't want to get down that, but they do deal with creators. I think Mexico makes a lot of sense if you think about it from a new trading partner. I also think KF makes a lot of sense the more I think about it, but I do understand why you'd look at Mexico here. Then I got to get through more of this. ORLY, all these names look good, but you know, they might have had their run because the cycle seems to be changing. Yep. Please like the video. No, not yet. I'm long some other short things. What's up, Carl? What's up, Lise? That the bonding commence. I like CMG. I think you just buy it and leave it on. What's going on, Donato? What's up, Joseph? Yeah, I saw that. It is what it is. I mean, there's not much you can do about it. Like, there's going to be earthquakes. We live on a rock floating through space. I mean, there's not very much you're going to be able to do about it, dude. When you think about it, you'll go nuts. So maybe they use it as an excuse to dump it. I don't know. I'll buy more, probably, maybe. I would look at our new trading partners if I was going to look at international ICE. Like I would be looking at some things like that. I'd be looking at like Mexico, Korea, that place. Europe's on fire. And, anything industrial overseas right now is on fire. Any of those names, man. Like Europe's just like people keep saying, it's so fascinating because you hear all this stuff like this is bad, that's bad. Don't go here, don't go there. And then you look at this stuff and it's like these companies are on fire. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. I think we were just going through another one like this M-Core the other day. And then you look at these names they're not going away. It's really crazy. I have TrendSpider. I like TrendSpider. I don't think there's nothing wrong with TrendSpider. I find it easier to use this platform with what I'm doing. So I've been using this platform. Pardon me. And I have my own scripts and I have my own sectors and stuff like that. And when I tried to put it into TrendSpider, they wanted me to give them codes of what the code was. Like I can't keep stuff private. Like TrendSpider allows me to load stuff in and you don't even have to know what it is, which I like. So that's why I use this. I have TC2000. I think TC2000 is great. I think TC2000 is probably one of the most underrated platforms out there. I have all of those. I have everything. I've got all the charting systems. Yeah, 25 years. It's sad. The industrials. I'm all about energy names right now, Hunter. I'm not showing chart. Oh, you guys were yelling at me. You do care. LABD, I like a lot here. It's probably going to take some time here for people to catch on to that. And it doesn't look like it's going to happen right away. What's up, Tim? What's up, Simply? Not a boomer. In the kitchen. Maybe root. I don't even know what this thing does, dude. I don't even have an answer for you. I would have no idea how to even trade that. I mean, you just have to buy it and just kind of hold on. Like, I mean, were earnings that good? Like, they were that great? I mean, that's a pretty big revenue surprise. I mean, I'll give you that. But good Lord. I mean, did they never make money before? I don't even know what they do. I literally knew nothing about this company. I know people in the room trade it, but that's a tough one to trade. And you just closed it an all-time high. I mean, that's a new closing high, man. I might watch that today, actually. SWVL. Thanks, John. I see it. Yeah, I don't have a clue for you as to why this would do what it's doing. Not a clue. I mean, I can watch it, but I'm not one to talk about it because, like, I have no idea why it's doing this. Not a clue, not one clue. I don't know anything about that company, like nothing. World peace and interest rates dropping. Maybe not. CRISPR might move first. I don't think MU is going to be affected by that. What's up, Boomer? What do you want? What's it going to cost me? What's up, Stoney? What's up, Tone? Yeah, I do like it, but yeah, but there's no oil in there. There's no oil in the SPR anymore. I don't think it's too late for the energy names. It's called the Committee of Finance. For now. I don't know that people act like, this is so crazy to me. Like, people will look at gold and say, oh, it's made its move. Like, because like an object in motion stays in motion, right? So like if you're in your car and your car's moving, does your car just stop? Do you know what I'm saying? Oh, looks like people are catching on. That's good. I don't know. I wouldn't just assume that. I like LEBD a lot, Kyle. Zero thoughts on that name. What's up, Steve? Haven't seen you forever. Yield's breaking out, brother. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, technically, what's that? 460? And I think that's going to cause a lot more pain than we think it is. Oh, VP. All right. I mean, okay, I'll take a look at it. I don't know. Maybe he's cheating on me. You think Ross is cheating on me? NYCB. Look, if you're in NYCB, man, you're in for the ride. Like, you got to realize, like, you're in this for a year or two, right? It's got to figure itself out. It's going to take time. That's not going to just turn around in a day. Oh, cool. Fixed range volume by price. I can show that volume profile. Thoughts on AMD? Broke the 55, man. There's no real reason to go near it, right? Is there, Matthew? What's going on, Matt? I mean, like, I've been waiting for this day, and then I get it, and then it rallies like right into it. But I mean, that's pretty nasty stuff. So, short's getting boring. Apple's got some problems, man. Am I in Apple long-term? I am not. I have no Apple position. If everybody wasn't so glued to it, I'd probably short it. It's an insurance company. Well, that makes perfect sense. I mean, as long as you have long-term, I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, people can be buying Southern Company for decades. As long as you get your yield, who cares? Meta actually is acting very well, considering all things. So, I'm not doing an hour every morning. No. All right, guys, got to jump. Trade to win.